Everybody, it's Gen X Speaks here. It is the wee early hours of the morning, just after midnight on February 26, 2026. I really wanted to post an addendum on the video I did this past afternoon, regarding the Democrats and what needs to be done. And I want to drive home the importance of, I don't even know what you call it. I mean, why the Democrats shouldn't be able to fail here. But they're going to, I feel. The DNC Democrats, the corporate Democrats, the ones who are taking APAC money, the ones who are taking Wall Street money, the ones who are, sucking up to the elite, wealthy, the oligarchs, and not doing the will of the people. The problem here is simple. If let's say, for example, the Democrats actually manage to win the elections, they forcefully take the House, they forcefully take the Senate in November of this year. And they effectively make Donald Trump, if he's still alive, a completely lame duck president. His administration, it'll be over. It'll be over. Okay? Let's say they even do that. If they do not follow through with prosecuting everyone who broke laws, investigating, prosecuting, they need to, everyone who broke laws. And if they fail to punish, and if they, most importantly, if they fail to correct the loophole laws that allowed the Trump administration to do this, it's just going to continue. Maybe they'll elect a Democratic president in 28, and 4 years later, there's going to be another Donald Trump, possibly worse, who will have at that point seduced the people into following him, or her, most likely him, because there's no way they're not going to elect her. This is the problem. This is the lesson from our own Civil War that we should have learned, and we didn't. At the end of the Civil War, the deciding factor was, well, we need to let the country heal. We're all Americans. No, we're not. The Union, and look, I'm born and raised in Virginia, okay? The Union was America. The Confederates were traitors. In the modern day scenario, America is still here. MAGA are traitors. It's the same thing. They're the same thing as the Confederates. They don't believe in the American dream. No matter what they say, they don't believe what we stand for. And if you ignore that, like they did in 1865, and said, we have to heal. We don't want to punish these people. They're Americans. They're not Americans. MAGA are not Americans. They think they are. To be fair, I understand that. They think they're Americans. But literally, when you look at the facts, everything about their movement is un-American. It's un-American as hell. And the problem is, if you just ignore it, it's going to come back. And the biggest problem behind that is, if we don't correct the flaws in our system that allowed this to happen, the world at large is never, ever going to trust us again. They're going to say the obvious, which is, oh, sure, you're making up now. What happens in 4 years when you lose and another authoritarian comes into power? Why should we ever trust you again? If we don't correct the laws that have failed us, if we don't look at what has happened carefully and thoughtfully and correct those problems, we will continue to have these problems. And what's worse, no one in the world is ever going to trust us again. I don't know how to make this more clear. I don't feel the Democrats are up to this. I feel the DNC Democrats, the corporate Democrats, are weak. They're pathetically feckless. Cowards. Because they're worried about their own bottom lines. And again, I'll say it, this is the problem when you put people who have extreme wealth into positions of power. They're only going to hold up themselves. They'll tell you what you want to hear, but in the end, they're never going to follow through for you because they want you to push them, to lift them up and make them wealthier, more powerful at your expense. So I'm sorry if I don't have a lot of trust. There are a lot of good Democrats out there. There are a lot of good, I'm so sick of hearing about Republicans and Democrats, frankly. There are a lot of good people out there. Progressives like myself. And I say progressive because what that means to me is that we have a progressive society. We look at what we have and say, this is how we can be better. No one wants to do that because it could mean less of a bottom line for them. They'll still be rich, but it could be less of a bottom line, and that's somehow a sin to them. Not that they're pissing on everyone else. That's not a sin to them, but them making less money, that's a sin to them. That's the psyche of the oligarchs and the people who uphold them and the people we need to get rid of. Anyway, that's my thought for tonight. Have a good night.